all the places. So I'm going to light some Palo here and just clear my space and this space. As you are joining us, say hello. Let us know that you're there. If you don't already know, my name is Kaitlyn. I'm a psychic moon mentor, and I work with the energy of the moon to dive deep into the soul with women to clear energy that's no longer serving you anymore. That's an outdated cycle and an outdated pattern. And today I'm here with my friend and co author of Soul Alchemy Project, Tamara, and we're excited to share some crystal magic with you. So, Tamara, will you please
Yeah.
introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Tamara Childs. I work with astrology and I help highly sensitive clients recalibrate their energy so they can live a life they love.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know we connected over crystals, and I saw one of your posts about setting healthy boundaries and a little bit about what it's like to be sensitive and intuitive and an empath. So, can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about that?
Well, highly sensitives or empaths are people who have a highly developed field. And sometimes what happens to us, often these people are highly creative. They are the caretakers and helpers of others and in their families. They might be artists. And these are people who both pull in ideas um, through the universe and create with that, or they are people who often mistake other people's energy for their own, especially other people's emotional energy. And so that can be problematic for the highly sensitives.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anyone watching, whether live or on the replay, let us know in the comments, what do you identify with? Do you find that you're very sensitive? Would you call yourself intuitive or empathic? Let us know in the comments. But um, I love that you bring this subject up because that's one of the first things I started to learn on my spiritual awakening in
Mhm.
2017 when I first started. I had always shared a lot about, symptoms of depression and anxiety and sort of how to, manage those holistically. And then once I dove more into the spiritual world and metaphysics and different things, I started to recognize exactly what you were just sharing about that. Hold on, wait a second. I think I'm picking up on other people's energy.
Yeah, I often describe a psychically open person or an empath as a person who, you walk into the post office, you're feeling fine, you're standing in line, and then there's somebody who's got a vibe going, and you leave feeling less well than you did before. And sometimes this even manifests as physical symptoms. Certainly we feel it as mood. Sometimes it can feel this is really like talking about the psychic weather. Sometimes I refer to this as psychic smog, and that's a whole other topic that I can get into another time. But there's this sort of off-gassing that happens with people's emotional selves where they'll have a bad mood or a crunchy moment, and they'll just sort of that there's this energy coming off of them, and it's connected to thoughts as well, which become thought forms. And so what happens is highly sensitive people sometimes feel like they are um, weak or overly emotional. They're going through these waves, but really they're just very attuned. It's like they have a megaphone attached to their awareness. And that's something that can be trained to understand, like it's like a human crystal. It's like being a human crystal. You are taking in information and you just have to understand, like, what's you, where do you end, and where does this information begin? And once you start to understand that, you don't take the energy in the world so personally, and you don't try to process it, which is kind of like putting diesel fuel into an unleaded gas tank. It just doesn't work. And so I think I'd love to have people start to clarify those boundaries and awareness of just because I feel it doesn't mean it's mine.
Yeah, and that can be really confusing as we start, right? Holly's here and she says, "I love this. So glad that you're here, Holly." Um, yeah, it can be really overwhelming. And I know what I love to teach about, and I'm sure you touch on this as well, is, reclaiming that sensitivity, letting it be a source of power for you to move forward and operate in the world. And there is hope. There are tools that you can use to help you learn more about this. And so today we want to chat a little bit about crystals, and crystals that can help you set healthy boundaries, crystals that can help you protect yourself and shield yourself. And I think one of the first crystals I bought, I've got one here, was pyrite and fool's gold.
Oh,
Yeah, and many purposes, but I remember first getting it, setting it on my office desk, and one, letting it be a shield for me to, almost like an energetic barrier, boundary on my desk and in my office, right? Because I worked with a lot of people who had serious mental health conditions. And once I started diving into this information we're talking about today, it's like, oh, I'm picking up on some of what they have going on. And so that can help, something as simple as just having a crystal in a room or a space near you.
oh, that's interesting. I'm not familiar with pyrite, but it sounds as though it almost projects a shield. Is that about what it's doing?
Yeah, that's how I see it, as more so helping set up a shield, and almost, I think that's a good way to describe it, because I see it like reflecting off, like negativity, reflecting it away.
Yeah, that's what it looked like immediately to me. One thing I want to mention too, Caitlin, is that we have like rampant levels of anxiety and depression at this point in time in our society. And even though there's always been depression and anxiety, I think a lot of it has to do with the sort of connectivity of the internet and the information overload of things just flying at us right and left, TV, news, online stuff, social media. And it's so much. And I think people just don't realize, like, when they're scrolling or when they're watching like a violent show or movie or just listening to violent stories on the news, all of that stuff is sort of like particulate matter in the energetic sphere. It just comes in and it starts to kind of like um, go into us in a way that is not, it doesn't really help us thrive, and it doesn't remind us of our origins as spiritual beings and the light that is inside of us, because there is some darkness in our world. I think we can agree. So because information is so easy to get, rather than how it was like 30 years ago, I think that it's even more important that people have protections. So
Mhm.
yeah, I wanted to just say that. And so some of my, do you want me to talk about my favorite tools, or you want to?
Yeah, please do. Please go
Oh,
into
okay.
that.
Well, actually, I want to do a little show and tell because I have some new crystals and I just want to share. So I have this beauty is lepidolite. Isn't that neat?
Yes, one of my
Yeah.
favorites. Yeah, I have two of
Yeah.
those.
And this helps
Beautiful.
a lot with lifting the mood and with sort of dealing with chaos energy, EMFs, random stuff, vibrations that are really bothering you. And I just love this. I love that it's a sphere too. I love to hold this thing. Um, and then, of course, another really great one is fluorite, which I mentioned at the beginning. I have this wonderful, I don't know if you can see that. This is like a really dark one. My light is
Mm.
not too bright here, but and fluorite is a wonderful decorder. So what that just means is that when people think of you, it just sort of, it's like a little line of energy that attaches, and we get these like little cords that come in, and some of that is perfectly fine. You know, you love somebody, you're thinking loving thoughts, you're connecting, you're giving them an energetic hug. And sometimes there are people thinking of you, or there's situations that you need to detach from, right? Like work situations or skirmishes happening with somebody. And so fluoride is wonderful for, here's a little piece that's more like a, and this just helps like not allow people to plug in like their telephone wires. You know what I'm saying? So I love fluoride. It's just like I've used this forever. This was like one of the first stones I ever used. So there,
Yeah,
those
Holly's
are,
saying that.
yeah. Is there another one that you like before? I don't want to just dominate with all my crystals here.
No worries. Yeah, I was just thinking like, ooh, I have a rainbow fluorite here. And I like that too. It's great to keep in a
Yeah.
study space and help
Hmm.
balance energy and balance divine masculine and divine feminine energies. And so it can really help practically put that creative energy to use. But yeah, Holly here is saying fluorite is a huge crystal in my life, and I immediately feel soothed with it. Yeah, I think it can help um, like desensitize a lot of that mental stimulation. I feel like, which so many sensitives and intuitives, I feel like we are just sort of wide open, our higher chakras, our higher energy systems, and so grounding down with crystals can be so useful. One stone that I've came back to recently, which may seem like a surprise because I'm all about the moon and working with the moon, but I hadn't worked with her in a while, and I brought back. I have a little tumbler here of moonstone, rainbow
Oh,
moonstone.
nice.
Yeah, which is so
Mm.
similarly just so calming and soothing, and also I think a big part of what we're talking about today is like getting comfortable and familiar with your own energy, right? You talked about learning and knowing sort of where you end and sort of where you extend. And so it's really important to sit with that and be comfortable with that, and know your own thoughts and your own emotions and your own energy and tools that sort of work for you. And I feel like moonstone can be a great reflection sort of piece and stone to help you sort of dive in, calm down so you can hear some of the ways that you receive
Mm.
information, whether it's, feeling, hearing, knowing, whatever it is for you. And I think it's, yeah, Holly here says, in therapy, I always described people as batteries, and people will plug into us without pouring into us and drain our energy.
Yeah, that's such a great point, Holly. And actually, one of the other tools that I use, well, I have a few, but I love energy medicine. You can look it up. Donna Eden is the creator of it. She just works with the meridians, and there's a morning routine that I always recommend to my clients that just takes a few minutes, where you basically ground your aura, and you use your hands, because your hands are they're magnets. And so you just, you can use your hands, and one thing you can do that's real simple to prevent draining is to take your hands and then just run them all the way up your body, and you kind of do this, like you zip up. It's called the zip up.
Ooh,
And
I like
and you
that.
can also use your hands on your auric field, and you can, basically, they're magnets, so they're just going to pull the energy down, because sometimes when we're asleep, we're not fully grounded in the morning. So we're a little fuzzy, and it helps to ground your field, and you can just use your hands to do that.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. Yeah, thank you. That our hands are so powerful. And right now, right, we're in the full moon phase or the lunar eclipse. So it's
Mhm,
really
mhm.
amplified, intensified, and a useful practice right now is releasing, right? And one of my favorite astrologers and moonologists that I follow, Yasmin Boland, she reminded me of that as well. And you can, it's like you throw away those things
Sure.
that are no longer serving you. Like, pluck that thought out of your head that's not
Yeah.
working for you. Get that energy off you. But even if you don't have any tools, you can use
Yeah.
your hands, and it's so, so powerful. And if you have tools, great, you can incorporate those as well. I have a selenite wand here too, right? That's a great
Nice.
reminder of, you can just
Yeah.
take it around, wand it over you, your aura, your energy, and release that which is no longer serving you.
I love that you're bringing in some stones that I'm less familiar with, although I do have some selenite too. I have this like a palm stone, and I really like this. And I just feel like this keeps the vibe high for me somehow. And yeah, I really like this one. Also, black stones can be really helpful. I think this is a black tourmaline here. Um, Black tourmaline, because black stones can absorb and then help, help transform stuff. You can also use smoky quartz. I have a smoky quartz. This is like show and tell. It's fun.
It's so fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's the smoky quartz. And then also, I just want to share, I broke the last ring I had and I didn't replace it for a while, but this is hematite. And this was very helpful. Whoops. For unscrambling energies. I also have a bracelet on today. It's great for, it's like an unscrambler. Like sometimes I'll have just so much going on that I feel like my brain is frying. And I like hematite for that, for keeping things like organized in my mental sphere and keeping out, especially, I think it helps as well.
Yeah, and a friend reminded me recently, it can help you come back into your personal power and remember your personal strength and sort of what you have control over. So I like it for
Oh,
that
that's
reason,
interesting. That's an
as well as
interesting.
all the reasons you mentioned as well. Yeah. But yeah, I think you're right with selenite that it can really, I forget the words that you use, but just sort of amplify this positive energy. Selenite's
Lift.
great
Yeah.
because it never needs cleansed or cleared. It can help clear your other stones, just laying them together.
Mm.
And then on my bucket list, you reminded me. You know how we have Himalayan salt lamps, and they can
Yeah.
be so calming, right? They have selenite lamps as well, which I only recently learned about. But when those are in the space, you can just feel the energetic difference in a room when you have something like that.
I recently took a salt bath, and I've never done that. I went to Sedona and we went into a place where we sat in these zero gravity chairs, and there was salt all over the floor, and it was all salt lamps, and it was very interesting. I love to use Epsom salts in the bath, but I don't think I've had like a salt room bath before. It was very cool. It actually made me feel really relaxed and kind of tired afterward. Like I felt ah, just like taking a nap afterward.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, you can feel like get to a tired point in those. I do moon circles at a local salt cave.
Oh,
And they can definitely, yeah, very grounding, very healing, great for anyone with sort of respiratory concerns, sinuses, allergies.
mm, mm,
If you're grieving,
mm,
right, even because the lungs can hold grief
mm.
inside of us, and halotherapy is great to help restore breathing in the lungs and all those things. But yeah, it can definitely be very tiring. But sometimes that's a good thing, right? Because we're in such this like go, go, go culture.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hold
especially
on,
if we've
rest
had
is
a lot of
important. Slowing down is useful. Yeah.
yeah, especially if we've been very tense, because I think that that can be also another symptom of high sensitivity is holding tension because you don't know how to have a boundary and you're trying to get this thing to not affect you, so you kind of get tense. And so I think a lot of highly sensitive people can also feel like, oh my God, I hate shopping malls. I have to go home. I need to be away from people. I don't want to go to parties. I need to have some detox time. And I think that's another symptom is tension. So I remember that with the salt bath, the salt room, whatever we call it. It was very interesting and different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, and that's interesting. A client shared with me recently. We recently started working together during eclipse season. We've done two moon sessions, which are psychic readings and energy clearings. And the other day, she sent me a screenshot of it's an app. She must wear like one of those watches or has a tool
Mhm.
that helps track sort of her breathing.
Mhm.
And her like breath rate has like decreased since we started
Mhm.
working together.
Oh.
But I was like, first, I just thanked her so much for like sharing that information because it's something I don't think about often, right? It's like I know
Mhm.
the work that I do helps to calm and ground people, but
Yeah.
physiologically, right?
Mhm.
Some of that tension is eased. Her body's under less stress, so it's less of those short, quick breaths of stress and tension,
Yeah.
and more like of those long, sort of deep breaths. And so, right now, especially since we're in eclipse season, which will really carry for the next month, if not longer, when we end with the last eclipse of the year in October. You
Mhm.
know, explore tools of crystals, explore tools to connect deeper with your spirituality, to connect deeper
Mhm.
with yourself, to
Mhm.
work with a healer.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would love to assist you. My girlfriend and I are leading Eclipso to help you do exactly this, connect more with your intuition, learn how to use crystals and pick crystals personally for yourself this eclipse season.
Mhm.
And my girlfriend's adding Reiki this month and is going to be doing that with whoever joins. So if you're interested, you can drop Eclipso in the comments. And Tamara, how can people work with you? Where can they find you?
I can be found on Facebook, Tamara Childs, YouTube, Tamara Childs, or tamarachilds.com is an easy way. You can sign up for my newsletter there. And I offer weekly energy updates. Those come through. Um, and I'd love to share one more remedy for eclipse season if I could.
Please
Um,
do,
that
yes.
is because I have the Bach flower essences, and I really recommend walnut are and rescue remedy. There are actually a few that are really great for highly sensitives, but when you're going through changes and a lot of not wanting to be too influenced by the chaos that's coming through other people's fields during eclipse season, you can use walnut, and it can help you just know what path you're on versus, especially if you're going through a lot of change, since we all are going through a lot of change. But yes, tamarachilds.com is the easy way.
Perfect. Yes. And I'll make sure to share all the links in the comments and probably
Perfect.
above after we publish this live as
Yeah.
well. And yeah, thank you so much for diving in with me today and
It's
sharing
fun.
some of these tools. Tamara and I connected over a project that we're both in, Soul Alchemy, where we were contributors for a book. And so, if you're interested in more topics like this, want to dive in deeper, I want to invite you to join us in VIP with the Alchemists, which I'll post a link to as well. Our book is coming out soon. We are so excited. And towards the end of this month, we're going to have lots more goodies and topics like this that we're sharing. So if you're interested, I hope you join us there as
Oh,
well.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yes, please join us for that.
Yeah,
Lots of goodies for you.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, thank you again so much. And hopefully, we can do something like this again soon.
Oh, it'll be super fun. Thank you so much. And wishing everyone a wonderful lunar eclipse. It's a
Yes,
lot.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Chat again soon.